Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loki here. Join me today as I show you how to propagate Dusty Miller from cuttings. So let's go. Dusty Miller is hardy in USDA zones 7 through 10. I live in New Hampshire zone 5B, so the plant is considered marginally hardy here where I live. In other words, I usually treat it as an annual. However, if I have a very mild winter, there is a small chance that the plant might survive for me. There are a lot of different varieties of Dusty Miller. The one that I have is called Silver Dust, but I believe that the process I'm going to show for you today will work with any of the different types of Dusty Miller. There are so many ways you can propagate this plant. You can propagate it from seed that you either bought or that you collected yourself. If you have a perennial out in your landscape, you can actually propagate the plant through division. You can even propagate it through a process called layering. And then finally, you can propagate this plant through what are called cuttings. I've been successful with starting this plant from seed, either seeds I've bought or seeds that I've collected. What I'll do is put links to a few videos down in the description that show you my process for collecting Dusty Miller seeds as well as sowing the seeds indoors. This was my first time propagating the plant from cuttings. It was a lot of fun. I'm excited that it worked, and that's what today's video is all about. And not only am I going to show you how to take your own cuttings of Dusty Miller, I'm going to give you an update on a couple of cuttings that I took a few weeks ago. The best time to propagate Dusty Miller from cuttings is during the early spring months. You want to take those cuttings as soon as your plant is showing new rapid growth and after the danger of frost has passed. Those spring cuttings are in an active growth phase. And what that means is that they root more eagerly due to natural growth hormones. But if you did miss that opportunity during the early spring months, that's not the only time. You can also take semi-ripe cuttings during the late summer months. In fact, the late summer months is an ideal time to take cuttings if you're planning to overwinter small plants to get a head start during the following season. You always want to take your cuttings during the early morning hours. This is when the plant is most hydrated, which prevents the stem from drying out. And that's absolutely critical during those first days when the plant is trying to create roots. You want to choose a stem that does not have any flowers or flower buds on it. The reason is if you pick a stem that is flowering or has a flower bud on it, it's trying to put its energy into seed production. And you don't want that. You want to pick a stem where the plant is going to put its energy into producing roots. And me, I'm doing this project during the winter months because I have a plant that I'm overwintering in my garage, and it's a perfect time for me to experiment and create lots of free plants. I will care for these cuttings indoors under my LED shop lights during the cold winter months with the intent of hardening off the plants and then eventually getting them out in my landscape once my average last frost date is approaching. To make my own potting mix for indoor plants, I start with 4 parts of peat moss, although you can use coco coir. Parts are measured with whatever you're using for scooping. In my case, I'm using a bowl. Next, I add 1 part of perlite. The next ingredient is 1 part of vermiculite. Many people like to use fine vermiculite. I've used coarse, and it's also worked well for me. And then I like to sprinkle the top with pulverized dolomitic limestone. It's a good idea to add lime if you're using peat moss, as it helps reduce the acidity levels. If you're using coco coir, you can omit the lime. After boiling water in a tea kettle, I pour the boiling water over my DIY potting mix. This water not only pre-moistens my mix, but because it's boiling water, it kills off any chances of fungus gnat eggs that might be in my peat moss. I want to make sure I'm mixing everything really well because I want to reach all parts of the mix. I then continue adding boiling water and mixing everything up really well. After I'm all done, I tamp down the mix and then I cover it and I let it cool before I use the mix. You want to use a sharp, clean, or sterilized cutting tool. Pruning shears like this are fine. You can also use scissors or a razor blade. Make sure the tool is sterilized. You don't want to be carrying any sort of disease. And make sure the tool is sharp. If it's dull, you take a chance in crushing the stem of your cutting. Here's the Dusty Miller that I have overwintering in my garage. I have this one long piece coming off on the side. Let's go ahead and cut it off. You want your cutting to be about 4 to 6 inches, and it should come from a very healthy stem. We're going to go for about a 4-inch cutting, which would be somewhere around here. You usually want to make your cut below a set of leaves, and that's what we're doing. And then go ahead and just strip off the leaves from the bottom half of the stem. At a minimum, what you're looking for are at least 2 leaf nodes below soil level and 2 sets of leaves above soil level. And the leaf nodes are where the leaves were coming out on the bottom that we've been stripping off. And that's also where the plant's going to try to create its roots. You don't want to leave too many leaves on top because you want the plant to put its energy into the root development. That's what our cutting looks like, and I left a whole bunch of leaf nodes in the bottom. On the top, it's good to have a few sets of leaves because that's how the plant will eventually photosynthesize. But you can also take something like your pruners and cut some of the bigger leaves in half. And that just makes it so that the plant is not transpiring or basically losing too much water. As long as the material that you cut off is free of disease, you can go ahead and put this in your compost pile. Spraying your cutting with something like insecticidal soap is optional. I like to do that because my cuttings are indoors and I don't want to introduce any sort of pests or bugs inside of my house. So I like to spray beneath the leaves as well as above the leaves. I want to get every single part of my cutting. And it's okay to spray more than less. You want to make sure you're covering every part of that cutting. If I was taking this cutting and propagating it, let's say outdoors, I wouldn't be so worried about it. But because I'm inside, I just don't want to have any sort of bugs come into my house. Rooting hormone is optional but highly recommended. And this is the one that I've been using for years, and it works well for me. The purpose you want to use something like this is for two reasons. It will significantly speed up the rooting process, and it will also improve your success rate. I prefer not to put my cutting directly inside the container, but rather pour it in another smaller container. Just in case there were any sort of issues in terms of disease with my cutting, I don't want to introduce it inside of this right here. You want to basically dip or coat the end of your cutting inside of the rooting hormone, and then you can tap off any excess rooting hormone that might be on your cutting. Next, you want to insert your cutting into your pre-moistened potting mix. I don't like to take the cutting and just stick it right in. Instead, I would rather use something like the back of a pen and make my hole. And the reason is I just feel like I want to keep the rooting hormone on there and I don't want to damage my cutting. Make sure that your cutting is about 1 to 2 inches inside of the potting mix. You also want to make sure you have at least 1 or 2 leaf nodes below soil level and 1 or 2 sets of leaves above soil level. And then go ahead and press around your cutting because you want to make sure that it is nice and secure. This is optional, but you can create a label with the date that you took your cutting, just in case you want to keep track of how long it took for your cutting to root. Now you can add a humidity dome. It's optional, but highly recommended. You can use something like a plastic dome or clear plastic wrap. What I've used is a small sandwich bag, and that worked out really well. All you have to do is place it on top of your cutting that's in the pot or container. And then if you wanted to, you could put something like a rubber band on the bottom. I didn't do that, but you can do that as well. The big thing to know is that your cutting needs a high humidity, somewhere between 75 and 85%. My house is very dry, so I need to add some sort of humidity to this cutting. It's necessary for the leaves to stay hydrated while the stem has no roots on it. Some people like to vent or open up their dome daily just to prevent mold. I didn't do that and I didn't find any issues with mold. You want to place your cutting in bright indirect light. You want to avoid direct sunlight. What I did was I put my cuttings under my LED shop lights, which are on 16 hours a day. They come on at 5 a.m., they go off at 9 p.m., and they're set up on a timer. And when it comes to this, if I want to, I can still come in here and take some other cuttings just to experiment, because there are some pieces like this one here. They're not quite 4 inches, but I might as well experiment with them. And same with like this piece right here. So experiment with a larger piece like this and take some smaller cuttings off of it. I like this process for a number of reasons. One reason is if you have a leggy, dusty miller out in your landscape and you need to trim or cut it back during the spring months, it's a perfect time to go ahead, take some of those cuttings and try to root them. Also, it's a great way to add to your collection of dusty miller and get plants for free. I've seen some people try to propagate this plant in water. I haven't seen it done very successfully. Personally, I think you're better off trying to propagate it in a well-draining potting mix. When it comes to a soil temperature, the plant will create roots when the soil temperature is somewhere between 65 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. When I initially took my cuttings, I put them on a seedling heat mat. Even though my house is within that sweet spot temperature range of 65 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit, what I found was that Since my heat mat is not on a thermostat, the temperature got way too hot and it caused the leaves on my plants to turn a little brown. And not only that, it caused the potting mix to dry out very quickly. So then what I did was I just removed the pots off of the seedling heat mat, and I found I had a much better success rate. So what I'm saying is if you are going to use a seedling heat mat, that's fine, but it should be on a thermostat set between 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't use a thermostat, the soil is going to get too warm and it's going to be detrimental to your cuttings. It's important to make sure that the soil is consistently moist but not soggy. While you have the humidity dome on, if you see condensation in there, that's great. But if you notice that there's not a lot of condensation, go ahead, take the humidity dome off, spritz the leaves with some water, and then go ahead and replace the humidity dome. The cuttings can take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to create roots, so you want to be patient. It's important to not continuously be checking for the roots. In other words, you don't want to be pulling the cutting out, putting it back in, pulling it out, putting back in. Just leave it as is, and after 2 or 3 weeks, you can check on it by slightly tugging on the cutting. If there's resistance, then there's a chance that roots are forming. Now here are my exciting results of propagating Dusty Miller from cuttings. I took these cuttings on January 19th, and today is February 13th. So 25 days later, and you can see how beautiful the roots are. When it comes to my cuttings, the humidity dome has been removed because at this point, these little guys have a great root system. They don't benefit from having the humidity dome on them anymore. For watering, I'm watering from above, but I'm making sure that I don't get water on the leaves. I don't want to cause any sort of disease or any sort of issues. I'm watering just at the base of the plant. And again, I'm making sure that the potting mix is moist but not soggy. They're continuing to stay under my LED shop lights, which are on 16 hours a day. They come on at 5 a.m., they go off at 9 p.m., and I have them set up on a timer. I have the lights just about 2 or 3 inches above my little plants. At this point, I am giving them fertilizer also, and that's just because I have a mix already made up for all my little seedlings. I'm using a half a strength of fertilizer, and I like to use either Espoma Grow or Miracle Grow. Along with the fertilizer, I also have something called mosquito bits mixed in with my water. And I like to use mosquito bits because I don't want to have fungus gnat issues inside of my house. Along with all my other seedlings behind me, I'll be hardening off my Dusty Miller plants as soon as my average last frost date approaches. And I like to harden off my seedlings for about 7 days. During the first day, they get a little bit of sun, and each day afterwards, they get a little more sun. Let me know in the comments if you've ever propagated Dusty Miller, and if so, how did you do it? Also, let me know if this video inspired you in any way with wanting to propagate your own Dusty Miller. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.